midnight screams.
Story 1. Obviously, I am from a town in central Michigan. Proud of it, and even love our harsh, cold winters. We go weeks sometimes here in Michigan without any actual sunshine, and it can really get to you. I like to do what most people consider stupid. I camp in the coldest of months alone in the woods. It really strengthens your stamina to the cold, and until recently I found it very peaceful. I honestly don't think I will ever go camping again, because it will always be in the back of my mind. About a week ago, it was fairly warm for late January in Michigan. So I decided it was perfect to go out and camp, since I wouldn't be nearly as cold as I usually am, and could actually sleep somewhat comfortably. Well, I was wrong. It was anything but peaceful or comfortable. I packed up my normal supplies and planned where to camp. This time, by luck or the grace of God, I decided to bring my 20-gauge shotgun with me. I figured, since it was warm enough, a bear might wake up and be hungry. Now I know how rare it is to encounter a bear in Michigan, especially in winter, but I had a feeling this time, and thank God I listened to it. Around 2:30 p.m. I headed out to state land. Right around a 25-minute drive from my house to my camping spot I chose. It was literally in the middle of the woods, with pine trees surrounding me all around to help block the wind. I made my own makeshift shelter, and it was a lot warmer than I expected. Started a fire and started cooking some good old hot dogs. I was enjoying myself drinking some beer and got a bit tipsy before it got dark. I walked to a tree to take a piss and heard a twig snap. Now, in the middle of the woods there are animals and such, so I didn't think much of it. But when you're alone, I don't care who you are, it makes you a tad bit nervous. I finished my business and went into my little home to get some sleep. Thanks to the beer, I had to pee again, probably around 12:30 a.m. I crawled out and went to the same tree. Out of the corner of my eye, I noticed movement about 25 yards away. Naturally, my heart began to race, and I immediately woke up. I stared and waited, and nothing else moved, so I went back in to lay down. As soon as I got comfortable, I heard it again. Only this time, it didn't stop. It kept coming closer and closer, and I couldn't help but notice it was definitely walking on 2 feet. "Hello?" I said aloud, nervously. The footsteps stopped about 5 feet from where I was laying and didn't move. I sat there quietly, my heart pounding through my chest. I slowly got up and tried to poke my head out and see what was near my shelter. "Hello?" a voice gurgled from behind me. My head snapped around and looked in all directions. I was in pure panic and couldn't find where the fuck this person was. "Who is it, goddammit?" I shouted, my voice thundering through the night. Then I heard crunching as whoever it was took off running away. I jumped out and searched frantically and didn't see a thing, so I ran to where I heard it, walking around. "What the fuck?" I stammered as my blood turned ice cold. The footprints weren't even human. It looked like a cross between man and deer hoofs. I grabbed my shit as fast as I could and began to jog back to my truck. Fuck that. Whatever was out there, I didn't want to find out what it was, and if it were a prank, it was a damn good one. After a few minutes of walking, I seen my truck ahead and broke into a full sprint. Then I heard the crunching behind me and noticed I was being followed. I looked behind, and I swear to God, I nearly shit my pants. There was this huge guy, probably 6'7", running after me, only his knees were bent the wrong way. He was fast too, gaining on me rapidly. Holy fuck! I shouted and picked up my pace as fast as I could. He started to laugh, and it sounded so wrong. Like he was completely evil, and it had a cackling and gurgling sound. Whatever it was enjoying my fear and had horrible plans for me. If it caught me, I finally reached my truck and yanked open the door, slamming it shut and locking it behind me. Just as I hit the lock button, he ran full blast into my truck, actually denting the door. Then he put his face against my window and smiled this disgusting grin. His eyes were huge, and he looked completely and utterly insane. I started my truck, and he ran in front of it as if he was going to be able to stop it. I threw it into drive and floored it. I didn't budge an inch, and noticed something else. He was actually lifting my front end off the ground slightly, attempting to tip the truck on its side. "Get the fuck out of here!" I shouted. I then remembered I had my shotgun with me and grabbed it, loading a slug as quick as I could. I rolled down my window, and as soon as I did, he came charging, laughing and drooling. I aimed right at his chest, fired. He howled so loudly I had to cover my ears, and he landed right on his back. I didn't waste any time as I floored it and raced down the road as fast as I could without going in the ditch. I have never been more relieved in my life to see the exit sign, and very briefly felt a sense of relief. I looked in the mirror, and there he was, chasing me again, only this time he didn't have a smile on his face. It was pure rage, and I knew if he caught up to me, I wasn't going to live through this. I passed the exit sign spinning out on the road and went right into the ditch. "Fuck! No fuck!" I shouted, pounding my steering wheel. I looked over and expected the worst. For some reason, though, he stopped right before the paved road and stared angrily at me. I put the truck in four-wheel drive and barely made it out. As I started driving down the road, I heard it howl one more time, and then he disappeared. I never told anyone about this because I knew that no one would believe me, and they would all just laugh at me. It has definitely made me change about going even this summer, and I don't think I'll ever go into the woods alone again. Story 2. Hello everyone, my name is Andy Gillard. My friends and I are trapped in a very small town in Michigan. I know. How are you trapped in a town? Why not just leave? I'll get to that later. For now, let me explain how in the hell we got into this mess in the first place. My two buddies, Ryan and Tommy, not their real names, they want to remain anonymous, came with me on a stupid Bigfoot hunt. Yes, I know. Childish, but hey, I've always been fascinated with the idea of a giant, undiscovered ape living in the most remote areas so deep in the woods that it's possible nobody's been in for 100 years. Ryan and Tommy both are into the existence of Bigfoot as well, so when I asked them if they wanted to travel the 3-hour drive and search for a couple of days, they were more than willing. God, I wish I would have just went to Florida or something for vacation instead. Tuesday was the day we actually hit the road and our adventure began. "I can't believe we're finally doing this," Tommy said excitedly as we neared the tiny town. "Yeah, we've been talking about this for how long?" Ryan was equally excited. I looked down at the GPS on my phone, instructing Tommy when we'd turn onto the road leading into town. 5 more miles, guys." We all whooped in excitement, staring out the window at the vast forest. There was literally nothing but trees for the past 10 miles. This was as remote as it gets. My phone kept dropping in service, one of the downfalls to being so far out in the boonies. If something were to happen out in those woods, we'd be screwed. Take the next left. I pointed to the upcoming road. As soon as we made the turn, there was a clearing, revealing a couple of small buildings. There was maybe 5 or 6 buildings in total, including a small gas station. There were only a couple of people out, but as we passed, every one of them craned their necks to watch as we passed by. I'm guessing they don't see many outsiders pass through, Ryan muttered. Guess not. Hey, take the next right and the motel should be right after the corner, I instructed. As we made the turn, a sign that simply read, Motel was lit up. The building itself looked relatively nice compared to the rest of the buildings we'd seen up until this point. It was tiny though, looking like it had 8 to 10 rooms max. Damn, this is one small fucking town, Ryan said as he looked the motel over. This isn't a town, it's a fucking village! Tommy laughed. We all laughed and pulled into the parking lot. We jumped out of the car before it was fully parked, barely able to contain our excitement. Ryan and Tommy walked to the back of the car and popped the trunk to get our luggage. I went inside to book us in our room. When I walked in the doors, I immediately smelled stale cigarette smoke. The inside was in far worse shape than the outside. The walls stained a murky yellow from years of smoke. The paint on the walls desperately needed a paint job, as they were crumbling and peeling everywhere. Can I help you? A deep voice startled me. An old man, probably around 60 years old, stood in the doorway of what I'm guessing was his office, a lit cigarette hanging from his mouth. He wore a flannel with suspenders, adding to the Hicktown feel. Yeah, my name is Andy Gillard. Me and my friends have a room reserved. I walked up and pulled my wallet out. Ah, yeah. 4 days, right? He walked to the counter and started clicking on a keyboard. I was surprised he didn't shuffle through a filing cabinet for the paperwork. Here we go. 4 days, that'll come to 200 even. Cash or card? His cigarette bounced as he spoke. Cash, I said as I paid in full. Fine. So, just out of curiosity, you ever hear of anyone seeing anything strange out in the woods? He stopped completely and froze. After a second of seemingly lost in thought, he finally spoke. You boys best not go out in the woods if you plan on it. People come out here and do their little spooky videos and end up lost, or worse. I looked at him, puzzled. Or worse? He looked up at me, stared daggers. I felt a shiver run down my spine as he made me feel a little uncomfortable. Just take my advice and you should be just fine, he said before he tossed a key on the counter, then turned and walked away. Should be fine? What in the hell was that supposed to mean? I shrugged it off and grabbed the key, an actual key, and not one if the car's normally used. As I stepped outside, I waved the key to Ryan and Tommy with a smile on my face. Holy shit, is it an actual key? Man, this place is stuck in the old days. Tommy laughed. I helped grab the bags and we headed to our room. I looked at the key and we were in room 4. We quickly found it, and after stepping in, we tossed our bags on the floor and examined our home for the next 4 days. There was 2 beds and a rather large chair with a footrest at the base of it. I call 1 bed, Tommy shouted. I got the other, I shouted just before Ryan. You fuckers! Ryan laughed as he tossed his phone on his chair divided by bed. We all sat and relaxed for a while after our long drive. It was nearing noon, and planned on taking a quick walk through the nearby state land around 2 p.m. We tried to search if there were any sightings in the area of Bigfoot, but our phones were loading super slow due to the lack of service. After a while, we gave up and just decided to go take our stroll a little earlier than planned. After we piled back in the car, I struggled to load up the directions to the nearest stateland, and after a few minutes, it finally loaded. It said we had just 7 miles to go, so we were relieved to not have far to go. We chatted excitedly the whole way and arrived rather quickly. "Dude, this place looks kind of creepy," Ryan said as we pulled in the entrance to the parking. He wasn't wrong. The trees were so dense that even in the middle of the day it was hard to see very far in. Hopefully after we walk a little ways in, it gets less dense, I said, hopeful. We parked and once again got out of the car. We grabbed our headlamps and Tommy strapped his pistol he always carried, just in case. It made me feel a little better, knowing we at least had some kind of defense while out here. We walked to the first trail we saw and headed straight in. I had a pack of orange ribbons to tie on the trees as we walked to avoid getting lost, but didn't really need to use it. Our footprints were pretty easy to follow, so we figured we'd save the ribbons so we didn't have to tie and untie them as we walked. A big mistake we'd soon regret. We'd been walking for probably an hour or two when out of nowhere it started dumping snow like I'd never seen before. At first we just grumbled about the snow and how it'd make it harder to see if we happened to see anything at all. Then the realization hit me like a ton of bricks. "Fuck! We need to go back now!" I shouted as I started to panic. Ryan and Tommy looked at me with puzzled looks on their faces. "Our footprints! The show's gonna cover them!" I shouted. I could literally see the color drain from their faces as they finally got it. We all turned around and started jogging back the way we came. Of course, our dumb asses strayed from the main trail as well. The snow was falling so heavy it was already having an impact on our footprints, making my anxiety skyrocket. I did not want to be stuck out here for the whole night, or longer. The longer we jogged, the harder our footprints became to see, until finally they were gone altogether. "Fuck!" I shouted as I leaned in closer to the ground, desperately searching for our prints. With the snow still coming down and the light fading fast, there was no way I could navigate my way back. Everything blended together and I had no idea where we were. Ryan and Tommy were starting to panic too at this point, as we all realized just how much trouble we were in. It would be completely dark within the next 20 minutes, and we didn't know if we were 10 miles in or 1. I cursed myself over and over for not tying the ribbons as we went. Just as I was about to go into full-blown panic mode, a noise caught my attention. "You guys hear that?" I asked my friends. They both stopped moving, and we all listened closely, fear plastered across all of our faces. We waited a couple minutes until we finally heard it again. "Hee!" someone shouted in the distance. We all three looked at each other in shock before we started frantically shouting back. "Over here! Hey!" we shouted, praying whoever it was would find us. We stopped once again and listened closely. "Over here!" it shouted once again. This time we heard which direction the voice was coming from, and we all looked at each other again before bursting into a full sprint towards where we heard the voice. We ran for a solid 5 minutes before stopping to listen again. "There!" I shouted and pointed. About 100 yards away, I saw a shadow move before it slipped behind a tree. I didn't find it weird at the time, but I now realize if it were someone shouting back and looking for us, why wouldn't they have hollered now that we were closer? Or an even bigger question, how did they know we were lost out here in the first place? We'd been gone only a couple of hours and didn't tell anyone where we were going. Not even the clerk at the motel. None of that registered at the moment, though. My mind was solely focused on getting the hell out of there. We all took off running once again to where I seen the figure, but couldn't see anyone. "You sure you saw someone?" Ryan asked. "Yeah, right here," I said, spinning around, searching frantically. "Hey!" Ryan shouted desperately. We waited for a response, but was met with silence. "Hey guys!" Tommy's voice was shaking as he stared at the ground. We walked over to him to see what was wrong, and when I got to him and seen what he was looking at, a pit formed in my stomach. Footsteps. Not boot prints like our own, but bare feet imprinted into the snow. "What the fuck?" Ryan said from over my shoulder. Just then, we heard a branch snap to our left, and all our heads shot up and looked over. We caught a glimpse of something moving extremely fast before it disappeared. "Dude, I don't fucking like this." Ryan's voice quivered. I was right there with him. Something felt very off all of a sudden, and I had this overwhelming feeling of dread, like something horrible was about to happen. We all stood close in a circle, watching all around us for any sort of movement, jumping at any sound around us. We thought we saw something move a couple of times, but weren't completely sure. It was hard to tell with just our headlamps on, as it was completely dark at this point. As I nervously shined my light around, I happened to catch a glimpse of something in the distance. A light. "Hey, you guys, what's that?" I asked, my heart racing with hope. "Is that a fucking light?" Tommy asked excitedly. Without wasting another second, we took off, running full blast towards the light. The closer we got, the more clear it became that it was indeed a light. Two, actually. It was headlights from a vehicle. We ran even faster upon noticing, and that's probably why we didn't hear what was behind us. I noticed footsteps following behind us, and I quickly turned my head around and about shit myself as soon as I did. It was the fucking old guy from the hotel. Only he had this blank stare on his face, and it looked like there was no pupil in his eyes, just the whites. I happened to glance down and notice he was barefoot as well. "Fucking run faster!" I shouted as I pushed myself even harder. We were almost out of the woods, and I could hear him gaining on us. His deep, raspy breathing getting closer and closer, just as I thought he was gonna grab me. We burst out of the tree line, and by some miracle, we were back at the entrance. Tommy reached into his pocket and pulled out his keys, desperately hitting the unlock button. As we got to his car, we jumped in as fast as we could, slamming the doors shut and locking them behind us. "Go, dude, hurry!" Ryan looked around us. I was scanning too, but thankfully he quit chasing us and retreated to the woods. Tommy started the car and peeled out of there. "We're getting our shit and getting the fuck out of here," Ryan shouted. "The fucking clerk from the hotel was out there with us," I shouted. "What?" Ryan and Tommy both blurted at the same time. I explained exactly what I saw, and it only made Tommy drive faster. "Dude, slow down. I don't want to crash and be stuck in these fucking woods," Ryan shouted. "No, we need to get back and get our shit before that crazy fucker gets back and kills us," Tommy shouted. He definitely had a point. We drove the 7 miles in less than 5 minutes and jumped out of the car, rushing inside. As soon as we got in the doors, I froze in place and my heart jumped into my throat. The clerk was standing at the desk, the clerk that just chased us through the fucking woods. "How the fuck did you get back here so fast?" I blurted, backing up to the door. "Look, man, we don't want any trouble, we just want to grab our stuff. And go, that's it." Ryan said, as he must have realized this was the guy I was talking about. The old man looked us up and down, then turned his attention to me. You went in those fucking woods, didn't you? After I warned you not to. You dumb son of a bitch. He scolded. What? I looked at like he was a lunatic. God damn it. You boys go in your room, lock your door. I'll explain everything in a few minutes. I've got to call the sheriff first, he instructed. What? No way you just chased us through the fucking woods, Tommy shouted. It wasn't me, you dipshit. How the fuck would I be? Sitting here in dry clothes if I was running through the damn woods. Look at yez, you're soaked. He pointed at us. We looked down at ourselves, and he was right. We were drenched. I swear, you boys will be fine. Just go wait in your room. I'll be there in 10 minutes, he said as he picked up the phone to dial out. We all looked at each other before silently agreeing to go back to our room to wait to hear just what the fuck is going on this fucked up town. This is where I'm going to stop tonight, but I'll update what the old man told us as soon as possible. It gets weirder, trust me. Story 3. The phones in Harper University Hospital have been going off for days now, and the staff is starting to dwindle. We'd already been running a skeleton crew due to a huge portion of the staff purportedly getting sick, and now it's far worse. We couldn't have those healthcare providers already exhibiting symptoms of illness around patients, but even our rooms are getting crowded now, and I don't think they're going to start going back to normal anytime soon. You can't walk down a hallway without hearing the patients stirring or coughing or crying, without seeing them in greenish gowns lingering. I've been trying to do my utmost, but even that hasn't been enough. What's worse, they pulled me out this morning. It was hardly routine. I got a call as soon as I got in from a higher up in the hospital chain. They had been contacted by one of the people on the board of directors, who in turn had been contacted by someone from the CDC about something, and they needed me to head out to Owasso, a town of about 15,000 to the north and west, about an hour away. All my attempts at questioning were deflected immediately. I was told that I was on a need-to-know basis, and that the only thing I needed to know at that moment was that I was expected to drop everything, clear my schedule, and immediately head to Owasso. So I did. I arrived before noon. Usually, at this time of year, Owasso is crawling with tourists. When the leaves start to change in autumn, it is not uncommon for people from all over the U.S. to flock to towns like Owasso for color tours. This, combined with the fact that the Indian Trails Bus Company is centered there, as well as a number of other historical tourist attractions, usually means a huge business boom for the little area. When I rode through the downtown area, there wasn't a soul on the streets. I didn't stop until I hit Memorial Healthcare. It was no Harper University Hospital, that was for sure, but it did its job from what I understood. Finding a parking space was far easier than anticipated. In fact, the lot was almost devoid of cars. I got out, grabbed my briefcase, and went inside. Their main lobby was empty. I rang the bell a handful of times in an attempt to get some sense of direction from a registrar, but no one showed up. I knew I couldn't wait around all day. I pulled out my phone, punched in the number of the manager who had called me, demanded the phone number of the director who had ordered my travel, dialed his number, and listened to it ring. Just when I thought I was out of luck on that avenue as well, he picked up, "It's Dr. Cameron." "I'm in Owasso." The director was silent on the other end for a few moments, a few noises escaping his lips as if he were unsure how to respond. Then he cleared his throat and asked if I got to Memorial Healthcare. I told him that I had, and that no one was around. He was obviously confused. I clarified that there was nobody, not even a clerk in the main lobby. The director mulled this over before replying, slowly. I need you to try to find someone there. She is a doctor at Memorial Healthcare, a woman named Dr. Miriam Corey. If you can find her, she should be able to fill you in. The director started to say something else, but was cut off by a violent coughing fit. When a minute had passed and he still hadn't stopped, I simply told him I would try to hunt this Dr. Corey down and ended the call. I glanced around the entryway one more time before leaving. It had taken me a solid half an hour, but I'd found Corey's office. The entire time, I had been almost bewitched by the fact that there was literally no one in the hospital at all. Patient rooms, lobbies, sitting areas, even the cafeteria, nothing. In all honesty, it looked as if people had literally just gotten up and vanished. There were coats, purses, stacks of magazines, walkers, iPods, phones, wheelchairs, just stuff strung out all over and no one around. The metal doors that usually bar the check-in windows were all up. All of the lights were on still, but there was absolutely nobody. I had gotten an eerie vibe the entire time I had been navigating the halls, and quite frankly, I was more than ready to have all of my questions answered. I knew that if Corey wouldn't answer them, I'd have to have it out with the director. I knocked on Corey's office door a couple of times, but there was no answer. I tried the handle, and it was locked. I glanced through the little shutter shade on the door window as best I could. I could make out the outline of her desk, the light that was on within, a filing cabinet, and someone on the ground. I grabbed the handle and tore at it as hard as possible, wrenching it back and forth. Nothing. I dropped my briefcase and stepped back. Lurching forward, I planted my foot against the door with a crack. I tried again and again, but the lock wouldn't give, and the door was too sturdy. Something was wrong inside. I grabbed my briefcase and slammed it against the door window, aiming the metal corner brackets at the glass each time. It cracked and then shattered open, the shade tumbling onto the floor. Now I could smell something horrible. Holding my breath, I reached my arm through the shattered window and turned the lock on the other side. When it gave, I hurled the door open. I reeled back, covering my face and my nose as a wave of stench poured over me. It smelled rotten, the stench of vomit and feces. As I carefully made my way closer, I caught sight of a lab coat. The woman, lying face down, had her black hair pulled up in a bun, but it all seemed too thin. The skin around her neck and on her hands was purple and black, lumpy, like some sort of contusions. She looked as if she'd been bludgeoned. Dropping my briefcase, I covered my mouth and nose with my left hand and gripped her wrist between my thumb and forefinger. There was no pulse. It was then that I noticed that she didn't have any fingernails. I grabbed her shoulder and turned her over. The floor beneath was coated in dry vomit and clumps of hair, more of which loosed upon my shifting of the body. Every inch of her skin was covered in lumpy welts, black or red or blue or purple. Her eyes had rolled back, and all along the lower lid, dried blood was caked. The sides of her head, too, were covered in it. As her lax mouth fell open, I realized she was missing most of her teeth. A number of them were pocketed in her cheek, having presumably fallen out. There was blood on her jacket and on her dress, her name tag, smeared with the brown red of dried blood, showed a picture of a young, happy, smiling woman with her thick black hair pulled up in a bun. Next to the image, the hospital logo and a name, Miriam Corey, MD. After I left the office, I tried calling the director, and there was no answer. I tried calling Harper University, but the phone just rings and rings, the same old advertisement on loop. I can't get a hold of anyone, but I know I'm supposed to be here. Hell, even the CDC isn't really answering their phones. When I do manage to get through, I just keep getting thrown on hold, even when I tell them I'm a doctor that was told to be here and that it's an emergency. With everything going on here, I don't know what to do. The only reason I'm posting this here is because I googled some of the things I've seen and it came up with this post. I don't know if it is going to do any good, but I need others to know that there is something huge going on here that the news hasn't even touched. Judging by Corey, I'd say she's been dead for more than a day just by the smell. Her appearance, though, suggests longer. I'll update this more as I investigate, but for now, I need to hang tight and hope for a call. I'm not leaving until someone contacts me. If I don't get one within the next 5 minutes, I'll try calling the director again. Please, just tell everyone you know not to leave their houses. Update 1. I tried calling the director again. No response. Tried calling Harper University Hospital and CDC again. No responses. I took a pretty good look around on the lower level and have yet to find anyone. I've been here for hours. After walking around for a bit, I decided to go behind the desk in the lobby. I found some flyers in a copy room behind the desk that looked like they were drawn up recently. They're notices for everyone to stay inside their homes and to minimize going out in public as much as possible. Some list what appear to be symptoms: hair loss, blemishes or bruises forming, red marks on the backs of the legs, fever, coughing. A lot of it sounds like flu symptoms, but I've never heard of a flu that will make you lose your hair or cover you in hematomas. Update 2. I found another dead doctor. He was holed up in a bathroom stall on the 2nd floor. His skin is purple, and he seems to have a lot of the same marks as Corey. Blood from eyes and ears, hair thinned, a lot of it on the floor next to him in clumps. No fingernails or teeth. Were they infected with the same thing, whatever this is? Update 3. I think I found where everyone else went. I'm leaving the 2nd floor because, as far as I can tell, there is no one else up here. I'm heading toward the emergency vehicle lot. It's dark and snowing slightly, but I think I may have caught sight of something moving out there. Update 4. Oh my god, there's so many bodies, they just laid them out head to toe in lines. Most of them are covered, but it looks like some of the covers were removed in some places by the wind and soaked through by the snow. All of them look the same as the doctors. We're not just dealing with a strange occurrence or something like that. This is a serious, deadly epidemic. Update 5. I've been trying to locate all of the bodies I can find, and I think I stumbled upon something worse. They were burning bodies in the ambulance bays. It took me a while to find one that was open, but there are piles of charred bodies inside. If the other ambulance bays are like this, there have to be more than 60 or 70 people dead here. Update 6. I tried calling everyone: CDC, Harper University, the director, police, everyone. What the hell is going on? No one will answer calls. Update 7. I need to get back to Harper University Hospital. Some of the patients I was supposed to see today had the same symptoms mentioned in the flyers. What if the same thing is happening there, right now? What if I could help those people, or ease their pain? I need to get out of here and take what I know back home. We can make containment protocols. We can fix this, right? Update 8. I only made it about 20 minutes out of Owasso. As soon as I left Memorial Healthcare, there was a pain in the back of my leg as if I'd been stung by a bee. It got worse, and now I can't stop scratching it, even for a moment. I'm also beginning to feel nauseous, lightheaded. I think I may have contracted whatever this is, if everyone else's posts are correct, and there is no doubt in my mind that they are. Can I even afford to go back to Harper University Hospital now and risk infecting all of those there who may or may not have it? I don't even know if I'll make. I can't seem to pull myself away from scratching at this thing and wiping at my nose. Update 9. I just woke up in the ditch. I remember that I was back on the road, trying to focus on getting back to Harper University Hospital when the itching started again, worse than ever. I couldn't stop myself. I lost control of the car and veered off the road. I'm not sure how long I was out, but my head is pounding, and there's blood coming from a gash. Even though I know it is a terrible idea, that it is entirely against how I have approached this situation. I have called paramedics, eventually getting through and getting a bus from another hospital to come out. It was either that or potentially dying from broken bones and possible internal bleeding. They are on their way right now. I informed them that something serious is happening and that I may be infected. I hope they take proper precautions. That being said, this might be my last update, as, if quarantined, I will not have access to my phone any longer. If this is my last update, if they do arrive with protocols in place and quarantine procedures ready, I need to leave you all with this. I've been thinking about what this might be, and while I am by no means an expert, I think there is merit to the idea that it might be related to the recently discovered Pandora viruses. There have long been fears about the potential. The mining and clearing of permafrost could release viri or bacteria unseen by humans by thousands or even millions of years. Many of these things we know nothing about. Hell, we didn't even know they existed until a short while ago. And I fear that scientists have been playing with fire. Modern viri and bacteria, just like anything else, come from evolutionary chains. This means that there are predecessors which, at times, can even stretch into current times along with branches of their evolutionary family trees. If it is possible that these things can be not dead, but rather in suspension for millennia, if we, by mere happenstance, mind a place where we unearthed such a thing, we could be looking at the very same evolutionary predecessor that birthed the bubonic plague or Spanish influenza, maybe even mutated into HIV divided by AIDS or Ebola. My point is, if those mutations were deadly, if over time, strands of this ancient virus or bacterium have threatened and even wiped out whole hosts of people, there is no telling what it could do now. We've never combated something like this. We haven't had the time to study them, to test them, to see what makes them tick. In other words, we might be facing something that could have almost wiped out humanity in prehistoric times without even knowing. I know that it is far-fetched, a shot in the dark. Trust me, I realize this. But even the possibility, this could very well be the end of humanity, the mass extinction that stops the progression of man. Maybe it is whatever this thing is working on my mind, but I think I'm starting to believe my own ramblings. I'm sorry, but I can't keep writing. There is so much I want to tell you all, so much I want to discuss, and if I am lucky, perhaps tomorrow will bring another day where that is possible. But I don't think I can keep my eyes open much longer. I know the paramedics are coming, I know they'll find me, but I don't know if I want them to save me now or not. Stay inside. Stay safe. Stay healthy. Dr. Jean Cameron.